G'day Internet, my name is Jason Sabalo and this is a Catholic Social Democrats vlog. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first video, welcome to my channel. It's great to have you here. So today is Monday, or it'll be Monday when I upload this video, and on this channel I want to make Monday Politics Monday. So you got from the name of the channel, I call myself a Catholic Social Democrat. And some people, I think a lot of people, will be wondering what exactly is a social democrat. Well, prior to World War I, a social democrat was a Marxist. Now, I want to be very clear, I am not a Marxist, I am very much opposed to Marxism, but that is the origins of the term. Over time, there was a time when the working class movement, particularly in Western Europe, was very much dominated by Marxists, but over time splits developed between those who wanted to fight a revolution against capitalism versus those who wanted to fight for reforms over a more gradual period to benefit, practical benefits to the workers. And this led to a split, and at World War I, the split was really very much finalised between the Marxists and the Social Democrats, between those who wanted a revolution against capitalism and those who wanted to make reforms for the benefits of the workers. So the term Social Democrats and social democracy evolved out of the socialist movement, but a lot of Social Democrats today do not consider themselves socialists. So who are we? Well, okay, the first point to make is we are not Marxists. And, I mean, obviously, I'm a Catholic. Marx fundamentally rejected religion. And I know there have been those who have tried to reconcile Marx with religion, but I don't think that reconciliation is really plausible. I don't think it works. But more importantly, I think Marx's analysis of capitalism is fundamentally flawed. A big part of Marx's analysis of capitalism was the idea that, by his day, capitalism had peaked in terms of what it could do for the good of the workers, and Marx predicted that the future of capitalism was a future of increasing immiseration for workers, that workers were going to get less and less well off. So, I mean, just look at the reality of life for the average worker today versus the life of what the average worker was like in Karl Marx's time. Have the average worker gotten better or worse off since then? And I think it's overwhelmingly obvious that the average worker is better off than they were in Karl Marx's day. The average worker lives a happier, more prosperous life than they did in Victorian Europe. So that fundamental aspect of Marx's analysis of capitalism is, just hasn't held true. And some will say that that's because of what they call imperialist super profits, that workers in the developed world have done relatively well, but workers in the third world have suffered as a result, and that things are not getting better for workers in the third world. But if you look at the evidence, that really isn't true either. If you look at the world as a whole, the percentage of the world who live in absolute poverty is dropping, and it has been dropping pretty much consistently throughout the 20th and the early 21st century. Things are getting better slowly. Now, I think they could be getting better more quickly. I think things could be done to improve things more quickly. I don't want to deny that there are vast inequities between the first and third world that are not good, and more should be done to bridge this gap. But things are getting better. And that mere fact that things are getting better for ordinary people without there having been a social revolution to overthrow capitalism, to me, fundamentally says that Marxism is wrong in its most basic analysis of the capitalist system. Okay, so we're not Marxists. Who are we? Generally speaking, Social Democrats are believers in trade unions. They believe in capitalism, but they believe in the government regulation of capitalism. We believe that government intervention to smooth out the peaks and troughs of the business cycle, to make capitalism more humane. Capitalism with a human face is a term that has been also used. And we believe in spending on social services. Now, at At this point, I think it's worthwhile to recall a famous quote by someone who was definitely not a social democrat, in fact, someone who many social democrats would look on as an enemy, Margaret Thatcher. Lady Thatcher once famously said, "There is no such thing as society. There are individual men and women, and there are families." Now, no social democrat would deny that individuals matter. Ultimately, society should seek to flourishing individuals, and families matter too. We should seek to flourishing families because they are an important building block of society. But fundamentally, the society matters, the community matters. And this is, I think, a building block of the social democratic system, that society exists, that individuals have a responsibility to society, and that society has a responsibility to individuals, particularly to those individuals who are worse off. Now, what does that mean in practical terms? So, I mean, we can look at the fact that, absolute poverty is falling worldwide, and that's great. Yay, capitalism. But if you look at most of the first world countries at the moment, we are currently in a situation where corporate profits are rising, that increased corporate profits go up, pretty much every year, while real wages largely stay stagnant. The corporations are doing well. The working people who, do a whole lot to make capitalism work and to make the system work and to provide these corporate profits are not fundamentally getting better. Now, I have to say in this context, I am a member of the Australian Labor Party, which is historically the Social Democratic Party in Australia. But as I said in my introductory video to this channel, I'm in many ways not the biggest fan of the current ALP leadership. So, the ALP is the governing party in Australia at the moment. And, what are they doing to, deal with this fact that wages are remaining stagnant? Now, I'm not saying they've done nothing. They have done some good things. One of the first things that the Labor Party did when they got into government was to support a substantial wage rise for low-paid workers. And that's a really good thing that the Labor Party did. But I do believe that the Labor Party should be doing more to, enable workers to benefit from what is currently a bit of a boom time within the capitalist system. So I guess what I'm saying is I would like to see the Labor Party be more social democratic, and in some ways it's not social democratic enough at the moment. Now, let me talk about one policy where I am extremely proud of what the Australian Labor Party has done. This is an area where I think the Labor Party has done absolutely great work, and that is the area of healthcare in Australia. Australia didn't have a universal healthcare policy until 1975. Medibank was the original form of universal healthcare brought in by the Whitlam Labor government in 1975. Unfortunately, it was dismantled after Whitlam lost office by the Conservative government led by Malcolm Fraser. When Labor got back into power in 1983 under Bob Hawke, they brought in Medicare. It's a system of universal health care which I frankly think the world should be looking to as a bit of a model for how to do healthcare well. It guarantees that absolutely everyone has a basic level of coverage from the state, but it also does allow for private healthcare. We haven't totally destroyed private healthcare or moved it out of the market. Those who are well off enough to pay for private healthcare can still get private healthcare and have certain advantages, but Medicare is there as a basic rock-solid safety net for all people, for the disadvantaged, for the working class, for anyone who needs it. And I think that's a really great system, and Australia can really teach the world a lot with this regard, and it's very much a policy of the Labor Party. Now, the Conservatives, as I said, when they originally dismantled Medibank back in 1976, they've sort of, every time they've got into government, have attempted to chip away at Medicare. They can't actually get rid of it because it's fundamentally too popular. If the Conservatives came out and said, we're going to get rid of Medicare, they would lose office and be out of office for a very long time, because that's how popular Medicare is, because fundamentally everyone recognises that it works really well. But they do attempt to chip away at it pretty much every time they get into office. Now, if I have any American viewers, I'm not sure if any Americans are watching my channel, but if I do have any American viewers, you're probably noticing that sounds a bit like the Medicare for All policy, which is advocated by Bernie Sanders. And Senator Sanders, I know, calls himself a democratic socialist, but I have to say, is Bernie Sanders really a socialist? And I know that there are conservatives in America who think that even the Biden administration is socialist, which is, I'm going to get to Biden in a minute. But, Bernie Sanders, it's not like he's advocating for the nationalization of industry. I don't think that by any historically meaningful definition of socialism that Bernie Sanders' program is socialist. I think Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. And I think the main planks of his platform are fundamentally sound. And if I do have any American viewers, seriously, Bernie Sanders, way to go. Now, I mentioned Biden. Biden is doing a couple of things that could be, broadly speaking, considered social democratic. For instance, he's trying to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, and he has brought down policies that, are lowering the costs of some drugs, and that's a great thing. And that's really helping people who are on low incomes but who need expensive medicines. And I think that's a great thing that Biden is doing, and I give him pledge for that. But Biden is clearly a welfare liberal and not a social democrat. And you can see that just in, when he was running for president, he said that, if a bill for Medicare for all crossed his desk, he would veto it. And I think fundamentally, pretty much every industrialized democracy other than the United States has a system of universal health care. And Biden, he isn't even pushing for that. He's clearly not a social democrat. He's a welfare liberal. So Bernie Sanders, social democrat, and I'm not saying I agree with everything he supports. There are some points I disagree with him on. But yeah, he is broadly speaking a social democrat. Biden, definitely not. Welfare liberal. And yeah, if you're one of those Americans who thinks Biden is a socialist, as I said, he doesn't even support universal health care, which every major industrialized democracy other than the US has. So if you think he's a socialist, you really need to get in touch with reality. But to summarize, as I said, I bring back to the quote from Margaret Thatcher about there being no such thing as society. And I would fundamentally say, as perhaps the catchphrase or slogan of social democracy, support social democracy because there is such a thing as society. Thank you very much for listening. If you've enjoyed what I've had to say, please give this video a like. Consider subscribing so that you hear more of my videos. And also consider leaving a comment. That helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Can be a comment, a question, be supportive, be critical, I don't care. Any kind of viewer engagement helps me out. I promise I will be praying regularly for all the viewers of this channel. Please pray for me, pray for the success of the channel. Thank you very much and good evening.